But I'm not on Martha's Vineyard.
You're not even on Martha's Vineyard. Oh my gosh, it's just whatever it is, you've got the loudest mic ever.
I know.
Oh boy.
Sit farther away from it.
Can also change the settings sometimes, but we could figure that out another time.
No.
Oh, Steve, I didn't know you had a cat. I have a cat.
I don't know why she wants to join services this morning. She usually,
Well, she's clearly very devout.
exactly.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
I have 2 new grandcats as of Thursday.
We'll get started in just a minute. Welcome back, Anne.
Thank you.
I don't see any.
Sherry, how are you and yours?
Oh, very good, thank you.
Good.
Just had a visit from Akiva, who came in to go to the ball game with Jim.
Oh,
All right, so we'll get started. Page 100. Oh, sorry, it's 101. Ba'ani b'rochastecha, ahavo v'hitecha, eshtachabe ehelcha kochecha, v'yiratecha, Adonai ahavti, mehon beitecha, umkohom mishkan, mishkan kibodecha, ba'ani eshtachabe v'yecha. Evrecha lifnei Adonai osi ba'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim beruch chastecha aneni b'emet ishecha. Okay, so we will turn to page 103. We rise as we are able. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher, sorry. Asher natan l'sechi v'yinav himen yom uven layla Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani b'tzomo Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani ben hurin Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shesani Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ibrahim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam alpi shavru mihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokev kefufihim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamahim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Amechim mitzvei gabe, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shesali kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten layayiv kohav. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, who removes sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids. May it be your will, our God and God of our ancestors, that you accustom us to study your Torah, cling to your mitzvot, do not lead us into error or transgression or sin, do not subject us to trials or disgrace. Do not let the inclination to evil control us and distance us from people who would do us evil and from friends who commit evil. Spur in us the yearning to do good and to act with goodness. Bend our will and our desires to your service. Today and every day, may you look upon us, and may all who see us look upon us with eyes filled with kindness, love, and compassion. Act toward us with kindly love. Baruch atah Adonai, who acts with kindly love to the people of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, gomel chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. Page 120. Mizmor Shir Chanukah Habayit LeDavid Armincha Adonai ki b'nitani v'lo samachti oivai Adonai lo yishimati elech tibaim Adonai ha'elita min sha'ul nafshi chayitani v'yudeva Adonai, you raised me up from Sheol, you gave me life, and do not let me descend into the pit. Sing to Adonai, faithful people, praise God as you pronounce God's name. Surely God's anger lasts but for a moment, and when God is pleased, life is granted. One may lie down at night crying, but wake in the morning with joyful song. Elecha, Adonai ekra, v'el Adonai etkana. Elecha, Adonai ekra, v'el Adonai etkana. Shema Adonai v'choneni, Adonai ozeli. Shema Adonai v'choneni, Adonai ozeli. You turned my mourning into a dance for me. You undid my sackcloth and girded me with joy, that I might sing of your glory and not be silent. Adonai Elohai le'olam odeka. Page 122, we rise as we are able for Baruch Shamar. Oh, do we have a minyan? I don't think we do. Close. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, not eight, not. Oh, we do. All right, so we can say a Mourner's Kaddish, page 121. Please rise as you are able for the Mourner's Kaddish and respond appropriately. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, Yalmad yivrach yirteh v'yamlich malchuto, v'chayechon v'machon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, v'galav v'zman kafi v'mrameh. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach v'alam u'almei almaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach, v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalav, shemei dekutsha. Eila min fubirchata v'shirat hatush v'chata v'nechem atbada aminan v'yalma v'mramen. Yehei shalom arava min shemai v'chaim aleinu v'erfo Yisrael v'mramen. Oseh shalom v'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'erfo Yisrael v'erfo Yishlei tevel v'mru amen. We remain standing as we are able to Baruch Shamar, page 122. Baruch Shamar. V'haya ha'olam baruch hu, baruch hu sev reshit, baruch hu mir yosef, baruch hu ze'um kayim, baruch hu rechem al ha'aretz, baruch hu rechem al bariyot, baruch v'shalem safar tov le'yad, baruch ha'elad v'kayam la'netzach, baruch hu le'motzil, baruch shemo, v'yisid baruch Adonai l'necha l'mayelav. Yachid Cheloni Melech Meshubach U'Payad Shemo HaGadol Baruch Atah Adonai Melech Mehulal V'Tish V'Cho. Okay, we will turn now to page 136. We'll chant responsibly with Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yehalelu Chasela. Tehillah David, Aramim Elohai HaMelech, V'yabarecha Shemcha Le'olam Va'ed. God, oh, Adonai U'Kulam Me'od, V'li Gdulato Ein Cheker. Adar Kavod Hodecha, V'divrei Niflaotecha Asicha. Zechera to Chayabiu, V'tzidkatecha Yiranenu. Tov Adonai Lako, V'rachamav al kol ma'asav. כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, ובגבורתך ידברו. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. עיני חולליך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בעיתו. צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיד בכל מעשיו. רצון יראיו יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם. תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר, שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה. Page 141. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, El Bekodsho. Hallelujah, Birkia Uzo. Hallelujah, Vigvortav. Hallelujah, Kavod Lo. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, but take a shofar. Hallelujah, but never vechino. Hallelujah, but tofu macho. Hallelujah, but minim behuga. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, b'tziltzalei shama. Hallelujah, b'tziltzalei teruah. Kol haneshama, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol haneshama, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol haneshama, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Adonai l'olam amen v'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzion shochin Yerushalayim. Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai Elohim Elohei Yisrael Osim et lo levado. Baruch Shem Kavodo le'olam v'yemaleh Kavodo et kol haaretz. Amen. Amen. Page 145. Nishmat Kohai Tivarech et Shimcha Adonai Eloheinu V'ruach Ubasar Tifaer V'titra Mem Zichar Chamalkeinu Tamid. From the very beginning to the end of time you are God. Beside you we have no sovereign who redeems and liberates, who rescues and saves us, shows us kindness and sustains us in every moment of anguish and distress. We have no sovereign but you. Bless you. Ilufinu male shiva kaya, ולשוננו רינה חכמה גלה, בספרותנו שבח ומחולי רקיע, בעינינו מאירות כשמש וחייביה, בידינו כרוסות כנשרי שמיים, ורגלינו קלות כאלות. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך אדוני לנו ולאהוב את אמונתנו ולברך את שמך על אחת מאלף אלפי אלפים פעמים הטובות שעשית עם אבותינו ואמותינו ועמנו. From Egypt you redeemed us, Adonai our God, and from the house of bondage you liberated us. Page 146. In famine you nourished us. In prosperity you sustained us. From the sword you saved us. From pestilence you spared us. And from illness bitter and long you raised us up. Your compassion has maintained us to this day. Your love has not left us. Do not abandon us, Adonai, ever. How can neverim shefilad etavan overroach shamav shnafach be'apinu shon asher samt befinu hen hem yudu v'verachu v'shabechu v'yarichu v'rumenu v'yaritzu v'yedishu v'yamlechu et shemecha malkeinu kipoter lechayim. Towards the bottom of that page, Mi Admelach, Mi Ishvelach, Mi Aruchlach, Va'ela Gadola Gibavana, Va'ela Yogone Shamayim, Va'aretz, Na'alecha, Unjabecha, Unfarecha, Unaverechet Shem Kudshecha Gamma, V'David Ba'chi Nafshi Et Adonai, V'Echol Koravai, Et Shem Kudsho, page 147. Ha'er B'Ta'atzumot Uzecha, Hagadol B'Echot Shemecha, הגיבור לנצח והנורא בנורותיך המלך היושב על כיסא רם ונישא. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone on the Zoom. I haven't been able to greet yet, so I can only see Norma and Sherry and Harriet on my little screen here. I've got only a little screen, I guess. But I see there's more of you there. So good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos, everyone in the room. Ellen and Rochelle and Ann and Eleanor are here. Thank you to Julia for getting here on time, unlike me, to get things going. So we will continue now with Shacharit, page 147. Shochenahad Maharom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv v'nitzadik b'Adonai v'shinah v'tihilah v'fi yisharim etala v'livrei tzadikim tihibarah ובלשון חסידים תתרומם ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ובמקהלות רבבות המכבד ישראל ברינה יתבשם במקד בחוט ובדו שכן חובת כל יצורים לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו להודות להלב לשבח תפארת להדר ולברך הכל דברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי לך ושיחך. I invite you to rise as you are able, page 148. ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ כי לך לילה ברכות והודעות מעתה יד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך הגדול ותשבחו אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זים המלך אל חי העולמי יגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ילמד יברכתי וימלך מלכותי וחייכון ומלכון וחיי לכו בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב ינברו אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח יתבער ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי וקודשה בריחו לאל אמן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחת ונחמתה דמרן בעלמה דמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך Baruch Olam Vahed Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Yotzer Or Uberei Choshech Oseh Shalom Shalom Uberei Et HaKol Yotzer Or Uberei Choshech Oseh Shalom Shalom Uberei Et HaKol. So for this first bracha before the Shema, we celebrate the creation of light and all of creation. We give thanks for the fact that the sun rises in the morning and illuminates our entire world, bringing not just light but warmth to our world. All thank you and all praise you and all declare none is as holy as Adonai, and all will praise you forever. Creator of all. Each day, God, you raise the gates of the east, open the windows of the sky, bring forth the sun from its place and the moon from where it sits, illuminating the entire world and all its inhabitants, whom you created with mercy. With kindness, you illumine the earth and all who dwell in it, and in your goodness, day after day, you renew the works of creation. Sovereign, you alone, ruled on high from the very beginning, praised, glorified, and exalted since earliest. Elohei olam barachamecha rabim rachim alenu adonu zeinu tzur miskabenu magi nishenu miska biyadenu en kechecha v'en zulatecha efes biltecha umidomeh en kechecha Adonai Eloheinu ba olam Azevi Zulatcha Malkenu le Chaye Olam Haba Efes Biltecha Golenu Limot Hamashiach V'yem Domelecha Moshienu L'Techiat Hametim. Page 151. Eladon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch Vora v'thito v'shama godlo v'tubo male olam da'at v'vuna soverim oto amid ga'el chayot ha'kodesh v'neda v'chavod al ha'merchava zechut u'mishor livnei chiso Chesed v'rachamim lifnei chevodot tovim me'ochot Shebara Eloheinu itara v'da'at v'vina uv'haskel koach v'vura Natan bahem lihiot moshelim bekerev tehivel B'leim zir u'pikim noga na'ezima V'chol ha'olam samechim b'tzetam Sasim b'vo'am Osim b'eim achritzon konam V'peh v'chavod Notnim lishmot Zochola v'rina L'zecher malchuto kara L'shemesh V'yizrach torah V'hikim surat al-Libana Shevach Notnim lo kol tzeva Marom tiferet u'gedula Serapim v'yofanim v'chayot ha'kodesh. Page 152. Lahel asher shabbat mikol ha'ma'asim b'yom ha'shvi'i hitala v'yashav al kiseh chevoto v'teret atav v'yom Shabbat. Such is the distinction of the seventh day that God ceased all work. And so the seventh day itself praises God and says a song of Shabbat. It is good to think. Page 153. You are to be praised, our protector, our sovereign, our redeemer, creator of celestial beings. Our sovereign, your name is to be acclaimed forever. You fashion beings that serve you, and your servants all stand at the edges of the universe, proclaiming reverently with one voice the words of the living God, the sovereign of the universe. כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים באימה, ובירא רצון קונם, וכולם פותחים את פיהם בקדושה, ובתורה, ושירה וזמרה, ומברכים, משבחים, מפארים ורצים ומקדישים וממליכים, את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, הקדוש, וכולם מקבלים עליהם אור מלכות שמיים זה מזה ונונים רשות זה לזה ליתיש ליוצרה המנחת רוק בסופה ברא ובנים הקדוש כולם ביחד עונים ואומרים וירא קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל האורץ כבודו ויפנים וחיות הקודש ורעש גדול מנסים לו צרפים ומתם משבחים ואומרים Baruch, Kavod Adonai Mimakomo. They offer adulation to God, whom they bless. They chant songs and voice their praise to the Son, the living and enduring God. For God alone achieves victory, creates a new master's war, sows righteousness, cultivates deliverance, perfects healing, is praised for reverence, and is the author of wonders. Amechadesh Ketubo Bechol Yedom Tamid Maaseh V'Reishit Amor Lo Asirim Gedolim Kilei Olam Chasto. Or Chadash al Tzion Tayeh v'nizkech ulanu meher le'oro Baruch Ata Adonai Yotzer HaMe'or. Page 154. In the middle of that page. וההריננו בתורתך ודבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו ליאהבה וליראה את שמך וההריננו בתורתך ודבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבנו ליאהבה וליראה את שמך ולא נבוש לעולם ועד לא נבוש לעולם ועד כי לשם קודשך הגדול אנוכה בטחנו נגילה 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 ונשמחה בישועתך. ונהיינו לשלום נעבדכם כפר תדוריכנו כמד לארצנו כי אל כל ישועתך ובאנו ואחת בכל עם ולשון וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך וחדך יהבה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל Turn to 155 for the Shema. Take a moment to appreciate coming together all as one the Shabbos morning. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha V'chol levavecha u'chol nafshecha u'chol me'odecha Ve'hayu hadvachim ha'ele asher nochi mitzavecha היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובפניך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. Page 156, we take our own time to recite the Shema or to meditate on the words of your own. Adonai Elohechem, and Yotzim Lechem. Page 157, and that Elohei Olam Malkeinu Tzurim Elohim B'Daru Kaim Ushmo Kaim B'Taris Yitzhak U'Malchut Tovim Anutol Kayam. As our ancestors accepted it as incumbent upon them, we accept it as incumbent on us and on our children and all the future seed of the house of Israel who serve you. Both for our ancestors and our descendants, it is a goodly teaching, enduring forever, a constant truth and never-ending principle. Amen. Matzilim me'olam shemecha in Elohim zulatecha Ezra Tavatina V'Matina Ta'umeinu V'Magin Mashiach V'Machri V'Vudo but your judgment and your righteousness extend to the ends of the earth. Blessed are the ones who attend to your mitzvot and place your teachings and words on their hearts. Truly you are the ruler of your people, the mighty sovereign who takes up their cause. Truly you were at the beginning and you will be at the end. Aside from you, we have no ruler who can redeem and deliver. Page 158. In the middle of that page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 lines down. Ram v'nisa gadol v'nora mahashpil geim u'magbia shfalim motzi asirim ufode anavim be'ozer dali ve'one le'amo be'et shavamela tehilot le'el elyon Baruch u'mevorach Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lecha anu shivra v'simcha rabba v'amru kulam mi chamocha be'elim Adonai kamocha nedaba kodesh nora tehilot osefele shira chadasha shel chudilim l'shimcha sfatayam yachad kulam hodu v'imlichu v'yameru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Sur Yisrael Kuma v'ezrat Yisrael Uvtechinu mecha Yehuda v'Yisrael Go'aleinu Adonai Tzavot Shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch Adonai God Yisrael. Page 159, Adonai Svatitah Ufia Gitu Gilata Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu, Eloheinu V'Motzeinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ahel Hagadol, Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Goel Livnei B'neihem, למען שמו ויחרתה, מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן ברוך אתה, אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתימת הרב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוביל הגשם, מחלקי חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר, אני כמוך בעל דורות, ומדומנה, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני לחיי המתים. מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מעולם, וכתוב היה נניח ובקרא זה, וזה ויאמר.
אז בקורש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים בו, מעשים מאיתם צרפים מאיתם
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקורש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים בו, מנסים למצרפים למצם, ברוך ילמדו.
מחכים אנחנו לך, מצייתנו, ציון וקרובים, תשכון, תתקדם ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים ממך,
ברוך כבוד אדוני נלתומו, ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו בכיפים אנחנו, מתי תמלוך בציון בקרוב ימינו לעולם ועד תשכון, תתקדש ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים לך, ודור לדור ונצח נצחים. בעינינו תהיינה מלכותך, אמור בשיר עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ונצח נצחים קדושך נקי. ושבחך ונקריבו לנו של אלוהיך, ימלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך שבת אדוני האל הקדוש. So we'll continue silently over the next few pages. Please feel free to use the words in the prayer book or the notes of your own. Sabino me too. Some of the Sabino mitu. Sama nafshi. Itush. All right, so I invite you to rise as you are able, page 167 for the Kaddish Shalit. Yidkada v'yidkada shemei rabba, v'yamad yivrachirte v'yamlech ba'achute v'chayichon v'yamlechon v'chayir v'chol beit Yisrael v'galav yizmakari b'navruah. Yesh yalla mo'amei al-maya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbarach v'yitulam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalav shemei nekudsha v'richu v'el v'min kol berchata v'shir tatush b'chata v'nechanata damiran v'yamad v'imur amen. Tikabotz the 24 oh yes kodam avon bishma v'imur amen. Yehe shalom rabba mitshmar v'chayim amen v'yafo Yisrael v'imur amen. Session with the mouth, we are session. And then the police are the police wait to be all right, so good Shabbos, everybody. You may all have a seat for a moment. We're going to transition now. Julia is going to take over and start the Torah service. We have a truly hybrid Torah service today. We're going to be Sherry Leffert will read from the Chumash. Julia will read from the scroll. We'll do a little bit of a summary. Then I will read from the scroll. And so it's going to be a whole mishmash. We'll see how it goes.
Maybe you'll help me with all the pieces of who's doing what when.
We'll figure it out.
Also, I stopped screen sharing, so if you want to start it. And also the Safaria is up behind.
Phenomenal. Sounds good, Ellen. I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Will you be here Friday night?
I'll be here Friday night.
You don't know who'll be here after it's
We
done,
don't know yet. We'll figure that out.
but you'll be here.
Well, I'll be here.
See you Friday night.
All right. Bye. Yeah, I'll get the books for you.
So, should I call up someone to hold the door before I leave?
Yeah, Aaron can do that. We don't know. We shouldn't open it for it. Open it.
I wasn't gonna open the door to that.
Oh, okay. What I usually do is open the doors. Open the doors and then mute. You've got one. Here's one.
They're on page, oh, I should get the microphone. So we'll start on page 168. In Kamacha Elohim Adonai Lekemaasecha Malchutecha Malchut Kol Olamim Umemshaltecha Bechol Dor Vador Adonai Melech Adonai Malach Adonai Yimloch Leolam Ba'ed Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain Adonai Yavarech Et Amo Bashalom Al HaRachamim Hitiva B'Tzon Et Zion Tivnei Chomo Yerushalayim Tivnei Chomo Yerushalayim Ki lecha levad atachnu Melech Elam Venisa Adon Olamim. Please rise. ויהי בצוע אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך וינוסו משנאך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שמתם תורה תורה ברוך שמתם תורה תורה לעמו ישראל We'll turn to page 170. I'll read the English at the bottom where the red arrow is. It is in God that I put my trust, and it is to your holy and precious name that I utter praise. May it be your will that you open my heart to your Torah, and that you fulfill the desires of my heart and the hearts of all your people Israel, for goodness, for life, and for peace. Amen. Let's turn to page 171. Anne, would you like to come hold the Torah?
Please rise.
Please rise. Right.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Adol Shema.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo. Turn to bow. Jump into Gadol Adonai, Gadol Adonai Iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachdav. Yes.
Yamim Yaseh Romelu Adonai Eloheinu Leishtachavu Le'adon Gadav Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
So everyone may be seated, and I think
We're going to start with Sherry,
great.
and I will turn now. I'll do my best to share. There we go. Okay, so we start on chapter 21. Verse 1. I don't have a page in Eitz Chaim because for whatever reason, I couldn't get a hold of the Eitz Chaim PDF, so I apologize. So Julia will have a page for us in just a minute.
Is this what Papa?
It is Vayera, and it is chapter 21.
Oh.
The first Aliyah is chapter 21. We're reading in the what's it called? The triennial. So it's chapter 21, verses 1 through 4.
Page 112.
Page 112. And since Sherry is reading from the Chumash, we will not have an Aliyah. We'll have Aliyahs for the ones that we're reading from the book, from the scroll. Sherry, you're on. But why don't you read why don't you say the Torah study blessing, the last of the Divrei Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Adonai pakad et zara asher amar vayas Adonai v'zara kasher diber v'tahar v'tailed Sarah Abraham ben Lizkunav Lamoed Asher Diber Oto Elohim Vayikra Abraham Et Shem Beno Hanolato Asher Yalda Lo Sarah Yitzchak Vayamal Abraham et Yitzchak beno ben Shmonat Yamim kasher tzivauto
Elohim. So I love the fact that it's always Yitzchak beno. That little phrase is repeated over and over again. Isaac is not just Isaac; it's Isaac. His son, meaning Abraham's son. This connection between them is pretty good. All right, the next Aliyah is verses 5 through, I believe, 13. Give me 1 second just to double check. Okay, verses 5 through 13.
13, yeah. Abraham ben me'at shana v'hivalezo et Yitzchak beno V'tomer Sarah Deho Asali Elohim Kol HaShovea Yitzhak li V'tomer Mi Milel Ve'Abraham Eini Kabanim Sarah Kiladati Ben Lizkunav Vayigdal HaYeled Vayigamel, Vayas, Abraham, Vishtegado, Beyom Higamel, et Yitzchak, Vatere Sarah, et Ben Hagar, HaMitzrit, Asher Yalda leAbraham, Mitzachek, Vatomer leAbraham, Garish, Amazot v'et bena ki lo yirash ben Amazot im benim Yitzchak vayera hadavar me'od b'nei Abraham alodot beno vayomer Elohim el Abraham al yirah Einecha al-na'ar ve'al-amatecha kol asher tamar elecha zara shema v'kala ki v'yitzchak yikare lecha zara v'gam et ben ha'ama v'goy yasimenu ki zaracha
Asher Koach,
Yashikah. All right, so the next Aliyah, which is verses 14 through 21, Julia is going to read from the scroll. So I think I'm going to, let's see, maybe the 3 Aliyahs from the scroll.
We have 3 people here.
Yeah, well, Rasha won't take an Aliyah, but so Eleanor, why don't you go and take an Aliyah? And unfortunately, I'm going to have to sit here as the. Would you get her a?
Tatas.
Yeah. I will sit here as the Gabbai tech man.
I know, we can get.
Exactly.
This might be the smallest. This is doable. Okay, whichever way you want, yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, so as I said, it's this Aliyah is verses 14 through 21. So go ahead, Emily. Come on up.
Kamala Ahmad. What's your name? What name would you like to be?
Alana.
Alana. Bat. Bat Lillian. Your dad's name?
There.
Ahmad. Alana. Bat Lillian. Bat Aharon. Ha Aliyah. Ha Rishona. Okay. Let's see. Perfect. You got it. I've never seen a talus look better.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Vayed.
Amen. וישכים אברהם בבוקר, ויקח לחם, ואכילת מים, ויתן אל הגר, שם על שכמר, ואת הילד וישלחיה, ותלך ותיתה במדבר באר שבע, ויפלו המים מן החמר, ותשלח את הילד תחת אחד השיחים, ותלך ותשב מנגן הרחיק תחת וקשת כי אמרה על ערב במות הילד ותשב מנגן ותישא את קולה ותריב וישמע אלוהים את כל הנער ויקרא מלאך אלוהים אל הגר מן השמיים ויאמר למלאך הגר אל תיראי כי שמע אלוהים על כל הנער אשר הוא שם. קומי שאי את הנער והחזיקי את ידך בו כי לגוי גדול עשיננו ויפקח אלוהים את עיניה ותראה באר מים ותלך ותמלא את המים ותש את הנער ויהי אלוהים את הנער ויגדל וישב במדבר ויהי רובה קשת וישב במדבר פרן, ותיקח לא עמו אישה מארץ
ארץ
מצרים.
מצרים. יישר כוח. Amen. Yes, God. Eleanor, you might as well just sit down for now. We'll have a little bit later. Okay, so our next Aliyah is from verse 22 through the end of this chapter. So I think I'll just read it in English. At that time, Abimelech and Phicol, chief of his troops, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do. Therefore, swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me or with my kith and kin, but will deal with me and with the land in which you have sojourned as loyally as I have dealt with you. And Abraham said, I swear it. Then Abraham reproached Abimelech for the well of water which the servants of Abimelech had seized. But Abimelech said, I do not know who did this. You did not tell me, nor have I heard of it until today. Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech. The two of them made a pact. Abraham then set 7 ewes of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what mean these 7 ewes which you have set apart? He replied, you are to accept these 7 ewes from me as proof that I dug this well. Hence, that place was called Be'er Sheva. For there the two of them swore an oath over the 7 ewes. When they had concluded the pact at Beersheba, Abimelech and Phicol, chief of his troops, departed and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted tamarisk at Beersheba and invoked there the name of Adonai, the everlasting God. And Abraham resided in the land of the Philistines, Yamim Rabim, for a long time. All right, so the next Aliyah is the beginning of chapter 22, and Julia and I will switch places, and I'll invite Anne to come up and have an Aliyah. We're going to have to find the place because we were stopped.
Who at Adonai Hamburah?
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Vayeh.
Baruch Adonai Hamburah Olam Vayeh. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Haolam. Natan Lanu et Torto. Baruch Adonai Nokein HaTorah.
Amen. ויהי אחד הנביאים האלה, והאלוהים נישא את אברהם, ויאמר אליו, אברהם, ויאמר הנני. ויאמר קח נא את בנך, את יחידך, אשר אהבת, את יצחק, ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה, והעלהו שם לעולה, עליך תחרים אשר אומר אליך, וישכם אברהם בבוקר, ויחבוש את חמורו, ויקח את 2 נעריו איתו, ואת יצחק בנו, ויתקע עצי עולה, ויקח וילך אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים. ביום השלישי ויישא אברהם את עיניו וירא את המקום מרחוק. ויאמר אברהם אל נעריו, שבו לכם פה עם החמור, ואני והנער נלכה עד כה, ונשתחווה ונשובה עליכם. ויקח אברהם את עצי העולה, וישם על יצחק בנו, ויקח בידו את האש ואת המאכלת, וילכו שניהם יחדיו. ויאמר יצחק אל אברהם אביו, ויאמר אבי, ויאמר הנני בני, ויאמר הנה האש והעצים ויעשה לעולם. ויאמר אברהם אלוהים יראה לו עשה לעולם. אלוהים יראה לו עשה לעולם בני, וילכו שניהם יחדיו.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayid olam atah ekotenu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yashkoach. You can sit over here. And I think I'll just take this aliyah. It's probably easier, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the final aliyah we're going to read is not the final aliyah, but the final aliyah we're going to read is on is chapter 22, verses 9 through 19. Is it? Yeah, 9 through 19. It begins if you're on the. Yeah.
Do you want me to call you up?
Oh, sure. I didn't even call Ann up.
Oh.
So
that's right.
You might as well call me up. That's a good idea.
And you can consider yourself called up
Consider yourself
and
called.
still up.
You're called and you're up.
Great.
Actually, that's a good idea. What do we? Amda.
Amda.
Moshe Esther.
Hanavatya bat Yosef Esther Ha'aliyah Ha'shain.
I guess it was Shanit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
All right.
Ha'avad.
Harav Yitzchak live.
Harav Yitzchak Lev.
Then Abraham and Sarah.
Then Abraham and Sarah Ha'aliyah Ha'shlishit.
Hey. Baruch Hu Adonai Baruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Bayit. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Toratu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
You need me to hold on to one of these? I think it's
No,
not.
no, Actually, maybe you can just stand over here, even though it's not
Not
the usual
strictly
thing. You can stand over here and hold on to this. Vayavo el hamakom asher amar lo Elohim, vayiven sham Abraham et hamizbeach, vayavroch et ha'etzim, vayakod et Yitzchak. ויעלוך את העצים ויעקוד את יצחק בנו וישם אותו על המזבח ממעל לעצים. וישלח אברהם את ידו ויקח את המאכלת לשחוט את בנו ויקרא אליו מלאך אדוני מן השמיים ויאמר אברהם, אברהם, ויאמר הנני. ויאמר אל תשלח ידך אל הנער ואל תעש לו מאומה כי אתה ידעתי כי ירא אלוהים אתה ולא חשפת את בנך את יחידך ממני. וישא אברהם את עיניו וירא והנה עיל אחר נאחז בסכך בקרניו. וילך אברהם ויקח את העיל ויעלהו לעולה תחת בנו. ויקרא אברהם שם המקום ההוא אדוני יראל, לא אדוני יראה, אשר יאמר
Yes.
יאמר היום בהר אדוני יראה. ויקרא מלאך אדוני אל אברהם שנית מן השמיים ויאמר בי נשבעתי נאום אדוני כי יד אשר עשית את הדבר הזה ולא חשפת את בנך את יחידך כי ברך אברכך וחרבה הרבה את זרעך ככוכבי השמיים וכחול אשר על שפת הים וירש זרעך את שער אויביו והתברכו בזרעך כל גויי הארץ עקב אשר שמעת בקולי. וישוב אברהם אל נערה ויקומו וילכו יחדיו אל באר שבע וישב אברהם בבאר שבע. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורתנו וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. ברכה תהי. All right, so we will now cover this up and we will, why don't you read the final aliyah in English and then we will lift up the, no, we'll do Mishavera.
Yes. What do the final?
You could just read it from,
Okay.
I think it's the same in Safari as in the Chumash.
Okay. In the Okay, so for the last aliyah, make the screen share again. Sometime later, Abraham was told, Milcah too has borne children to your brother Nahor. Booz the firstborn, and Booz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Chesed, Chazo, Pildash, Yidlach, and Bethuel. Bethuel being the father of Rebekah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, also bore children, Teva, Gaham, Tahash, and Maacah. The end.
The end. Okay. All right. So we will now raise and wrap the Torah. Eleanor, you up for lifting? And Anne, you want to do or maybe Rachel, would you like to address the Torah? All right. So we'll just wait for Rashab to come over. Sit right here with you.
Here. Address the Torah. You don't
Julia
have
will
to
help
read
you.
anything. Yes, and I'll help you.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה.
You can sit down.
Torah, 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 Torah. Well, who's going to sit?
She doesn't want to sit.
No, she shouldn't sit.
Eleanor,
Eleanor
why don't
should
you
sit. Torah, 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 Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva lanu Moshe. Morasha Kehilat Yaakov, Morasha Kehilat Yaakov, Morasha Kehilat Yaakov, Torah Tziva lanu Moshe. Yesh Koach, beautiful.
Eleanor, you can go back and read.
Okay, and now we'll do Misha Berach, which is found on page 173. Julie, you want to do Misha Berach?
Sure.
Okay, so everyone who's on the video screen can unmute themselves if they would like to name someone for healing, and I'll run through that list. Anyone?
Maybe I'll start quickly with the opening and then we'll name names.
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay, so as I begin, bring to mind those you're thinking of today with your prayers for healing. Misha Berach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak veYaakov Imotenu Sarah V'Karacha v'Leah Yevarech v'Yirapeh et hacholim. Now we can hear names.
All right, so let's start with Sandy.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You're good. You're good. You're good. We can hear you.
Okay, good. Ellen Zuniga, Elaine Skolnick, Yair and Rosemary Alroy, Alvin Glazerman.
Thank you. Okay, now let's see. Harriet.
Sandra Olansky, Norman Newberg, Inge de Wilde.
Great. Jim Leffert.
Nehemiah.
Anyone else on the Zoom screen? I don't see anyone else unmuted, so I'm going to assume that no one else has a name. All right, so we will go back. We will turn. Oopsie.
And
I don't know what
anyone,
this is about.
anybody here on that named Anne?
My brother Charles, but
Anyone else? So we continue to pray for all those we've named, all those we're holding in our hearts. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimelech Rachamim Aleihem Lehachazikam U'Rakotam Ve'yishlach Lehem Nehera Refuah Shlema Min Hashamayim Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf B'toch Sha'ar HaCholim V'chazek et Yedei HaOskim B'tzorchechem Shabbat Hi Milis Ok Refuat Kuvat Levo Hashta Badola Lizman Karim Venomar Amen.
Amen. Yeah, read it in English.
May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to those, all of those we're holding in our hearts today. May the Holy One mercifully restore them to health and vigor, granting them spiritual and physical well-being, together with all others who are ill, and may God grant strength to those who tend to them. The Shabbat is a time to refrain from crying out. We yet hope and pray that healing is at hand, and let us say, Amen.
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 Great.
All right, so now we will turn to the Haftarah, which is found on the blessings for the Haftarah on page 174, no, 175. Do we have a volunteer for reading that?
Nice to see you. All is fine.
You have enough for lunch?
We have a volunteer to read the Haftarah today. Maybe Lauren, are you willing? Are you there? Willing?
Yes. If you're willing to listen, I'm willing to try.
We are more than willing. Hold on a second. I think I did this wrong. Where did you go? There you are. There we go. There, that's the person we wanted. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim v'ratza b'dreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'b'nbiei haemet v'tzedek.
So the Haftarah today is it's going to be on the screen in a minute. It's oopsie, I don't know what happened there. I just screwed it up. Give me a second to unscrew it.
That's fine.
It is found on that should be working, right?
Page 124 in Eschaim.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Yeah, please. Sorry, everybody. Just give us a second. Julia's going to fix this for us. Okay. Oh, there we go. She fixed it. Phew. All right. Good deal. All right. Page 124 in Eitz Chaim or on the screen. This one.
Second Kings 4:1.
Right.
Okay to start?
Go ahead.
Was it a no? Yeah.
Yeah.
A certain woman, the wife of one of the disciples of the prophets, cried out to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead." Elisha, sorry.
Yeah.
Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know how your servant revered the Lord. Now a creditor is coming to seize my 2 children as slaves. Elisha said to her, "What can I do for you? Tell me, what have you in the house?" She replied, "Well, your maidservant has nothing at all in the house except a jug of oil." "Go," he said, "and borrow vessels outside from all your neighbors, empty vessels, as many as you can. Then go in and shut the door behind you and your children, and pour oil into all those vessels, removing each one as it is filled." She went away and shut the door behind her and her children. They kept bringing vessels to her, and she kept pouring. When the vessels were full, she said to her son, "Bring me another vessel." He answered her, "There are no more vessels," and the oil stopped. She came and told the man of God, and he said, "Go, sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your children can live on the rest." One day, Elisha visited Shunem. A wealthy woman lived there, and she urged him to have a meal. And whenever he passed by, he would stop there for a meal. Once she said to her husband, "I'm sure it is a holy man of God who comes this way regularly. Let us make a small enclosed upper chamber and place a bed, a table, a chair, and a lampstand there for him, so that he can stop here whenever he comes to us." One day he came there. He retired to the upper chamber and lay down there. He said to his servant, Gehazi, "Call a Shunammite woman." He called her, and she stood before him. He said to him, "Tell her, you've gone to all this trouble for us. What can we do for you? Can we speak on your behalf to the king or to the army commander?" She replied, "I live among my own people." "What then can be done for her?" he asked. "Well, the fact is," said Gehazi, "she has no son, and her husband is old." "Call her," he said. And he called her, and she stood in the doorway. And Elisha said, "At this season next year, you will be embracing a son." She replied, "Please, my lord, man of God, do not delude your maidservant." The woman conceived and bore a son at the same season the following year, as Elisha had assured her. The child grew up. One day he went out to his father among the reapers. Suddenly he cried to his father, "Oh, my head, my head," he said to a servant. "Carry him to his mother." He picked him up and brought him to his mother. And the child sat on her lap until noon, and he died. She took him up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and left him and closed the door. Then she called to her husband, "Please send me one of the servants and one of the she-asses so I can hurry to the man of God and back." But he said, Why are you going to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." She answered, "It's all right." She had the ass saddled and said to her servant, "Urge the beast on. See that I don't slow down unless I tell you." She went on until she came to the man of God on Mount Carmel. When the man of God saw her from afar, he said to his servant Gehazi, "There is that Shunammite woman. Go, hurry toward her, ask her, 'How are you? How is your husband? How is the child?'" "We are well," she replied. But when she came up to the man of God on the mountain, she clasped his feet. Gehazi stepped forward to push her away, but the man of God said, "Let her alone, for she is in bitter distress, and the Lord has hidden it from me and has not told me." Then she said, "Did I ask my Lord for a son? Didn't I say, 'Don't mislead me'?" He said to Gehazi, "Tie up your skirts, take my staff in your hand, and go. If you meet anyone, do not greet him, and if anyone greets you, do not answer him, and place my staff on the face of the boy." But the boy's mother said, "As the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you." So he arose and followed her. Gehazi had gone on before them and had placed the staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or response. He turned back to meet him and told him, "The boy has not awakened." Elisha came into the house, and there was the boy laid out dead on his couch. He went in, shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. Then he mounted the bed and placed himself over the child. He put his mouth on its mouth, his eyes on its eyes, and his hand on its hands as he bent over it. And the body of the child became warm. He stepped down and walked once up and down the room, then mounted and bent over him. Thereupon the boy sneezed 7 times, and the boy opened his eyes. Elisha called Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite woman." And he called her. When she came to him, he said, "Pick up your son." She came and fell at his feet and bowed low to the ground. Then she picked up her son and left.
Right, Yeshua. The blessing after the blessing is now on,
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol ha'olamim, tzaddik b'kol hadorot, ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer ve'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'davar echad midvarecha, Ahor lo yashuv beikam, ki el melech ne'eman, v'rachaman ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'ne'eman, b'kol devarav. Rachem al Zion, ki hi beit hayenu, v'al ba nefesh toshia, bimhera yameinu, baruch ata Adonai, v'sameach Zion, v'vanecha. Samheinu Adonai Eloheinu B'Yahu Hanavi Abdecha U'Malkut Beit David Mishpecha V'Hayava Bimhera V'Yavo V'Yagel Libenu Al Kiso Lo Yeshazar V'Lo Yinchalu Od Acharim Et Kavodo Ki V'Shem Kadshecha Nishpata Lo Shelo yikpeh ne'ro le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Magen David. Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'ne'imim ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnocha v'kavod v'letifaret. Al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu Anachnu modim lach
ומברכים אותה, יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
Amen. Yashkoa. All right, so let's see. So now what we're going to do is we will have a Torah discussion. So I invite. You want to lead it or make some lead?
If you want.
You should. We should switch places. Yeah. All right. So we'll just. So we'll take a few minutes to discuss the Torah. This is such a busy Torah portion, beginning with the terebinths of Mamre, with Abraham welcoming the angels and God, and then the very exciting destruction of Sodom and Amorah, which we didn't get to read about, and then of course the story of Hagar and Sarah. And then finally of the Akedah, and then as if that weren't enough, right? The incredibly busy Haftarah with the two stories of Elisha, the one about the oil, which is one of my absolute favorite stories, and then the one obviously of the Shunammite woman and her son.
Rabbi Jim, you remember that I'm giving a Devar Torah today. And
I forgot all about it, Jim. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay, good. Go ahead, Jim.
But you already did my job.
Thank you for reminding me.
You already did my job for me about all the things that are in today's Torah portion.
All right, good. Well, then you can just start. Good.
I hope you'll forgive me if I talk about a part that we haven't read today, the story of Lot and his encounter with two divine messengers on the eve of the destruction of Sodom. Lot and I, Abraham's nephew, Lot and I go back a long way. Years ago on Purim, I put out an advertisement for Ocean State Job Lot that boasted that it's the only discount retailer named after two biblical figures, Job and Lot. So, as I said, I go back a long way with him. And Purim shenanigans aside, also back in 2003, I gave a Devar Torah about Lot, and my theme then was that Lot is sort of a funhouse mirror reflection of Abraham, meaning that when Lot tries to be righteous like Abraham, he does it in a cracked way that befits a citizen of Sodom. And recently, two Davids, my brother-in-law David Werb and my friend David Rosenthal, independently suggested to me that there are parallels between the story of Lot and Sodom and the story of Noah and the flood. And that's something else for us to consider today. But on to my main point, Lot and the divine messengers. That's what I most want to talk about. Let's recall how Lot ended up in Sodom. He and Avram needed more space for their pastoral activities. And so Abraham said, you can go wherever you want. And Lot chose this extremely well-watered and fertile area in the Jordan Valley that happened to be right around Sodom. And he became an inhabitant of Sodom. Now let's review the encounter between Lot and these messengers. At the beginning of chapter 19, the two divine messengers enter the gate of the city as night is about to fall, and Lot is sitting by the gate. The gate is obviously well known to be the place where the men of the city gather to do business and exchange gossip. And clearly Lot is at home there. He's a full-fledged member of the Sodom Chamber of Commerce. What happens next could easily be a scene from a comic film. The source of the comedy is the difference between what Lot knows and what we know about the two visitors. Neither Abraham nor Lot knew that the strangers visiting, approaching them, are divine messengers. In fact, the text uses the term anashim, persons or men, to describe them. And just as Abraham showed incredible hospitality to the strangers, Now his nephew effusively greets them and urges them to come and spend the night at his home. Now, the text gives no hints regarding Lot's motivations. It's up to whoever directs or simply imagines the scene to view it in a certain way, because the text is whatever, it has very little detail. Is Lot simply demonstrating here his mishpucha's legendary high standard of ancient Near Eastern hospitality? Or perhaps is his motivation, at least in part and unstated, fear for the life of the visitors who are going to spend the night in the midst of this evil city? The text gives us no hints. The strangers, however, rebuff Lot and they say, no, we're going to spend the night in the town square, as if that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do in Sodom. From Lot's perspective, this might appear to be totally suicidal. Naivete, certainly not the smug confidence of secret superheroes. There's potential comic material here. Are the visitors merely showing customary politeness when they turn Lot down? Or what? Could it be that maybe they are testing Lot? We don't know, but in any event, these are all possibilities. And the humor of the situation is not lost on me. But in any event, Lot won't take no for an answer, and he presses them hard to stay with him, and eventually the men relent and go with him. And not long after, Lot and his guests are sitting down to enjoy a meal, and right as that's happening, the citizens of Sodom, all of them, from the eldest to the youngest, are assembling outside his door. And they call out to him, saying, "Where are the men that came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we may know them." And Lot steps outside and he closes the door behind him and he says, "Please, my brothers, do no harm. Look, I have 2 virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you to do them whatever you want. Only to these men do nothing, for have they not come under the shadow of my roof?" The people of Sodom respond to this offer, "Stand aside." And they added, "This person came as a sojourner, and he sets himself up to judge. And now we're going to do more harm to you than to them." And they pressed Lot and moved to break down the door. At this point, the 2 visitors intervene. They pull Lot inside, and the mob at the entrance of the house are struck with blinding light so that they cannot find their way to the door. Now, the visitors reveal to Lot what is about to happen, and they tell him to alert all his family members to leave the city, as it says. And Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters about what was going to happen. And he seemed to his sons-in-law to be joking. They just totally dismiss him. As dawn breaks, the messengers urge Lot to flee, but he lingers. And finally, they grab him and his wife and daughters by the hand. The Torah says, in the Lord's compassion for him, and they lead him outside the city. Now, Lot is too fearful to go far, and he asks to stay in a small town nearby, Zoar. And eventually he pleads with the messengers, who agree to spare this little town. This is an irony of the story. Abraham argues with God to save Sodom and Gomorrah, and in the end comes up empty. But Lot asks to save a small town for his own comfort, and that town is spared. Anyway, as the destruction happens, Lot's wife finds it hard to leave without looking back, and we know what happens to her. Later, of course, Lot does get the courage to continue up to the mountains. And there, his daughters, fearful that only they are left in the world, get their father drunk, and while he's sleeping it off, they have sex with him, in order, they believe, to keep the human race going. Well, now that I've reviewed the story of Lot's encounter with these divine beings, are some questions. Do you buy the idea that Lot is a cracked Sodom version of Abraham? Do you see parallels between Lot and Noah and what happens to Sodom and Gomorrah and the flood? Is Lot like Noah? And most important, what do you think of Lot's behavior in offering his daughters to the mob? What would you say if you were bringing Lot to judgment for this? And even more challenging, what would you say if you were defending Lot? At this point, I'm interested in your reactions. And since I'm somewhere else, it might be helpful for Rabbi Jim and Julia to catch the people who want to speak.
Yes, we're happy to. Great, Sandy.
Yes, I think the whole thing is nonsensical. In this time, we're reading 2021. We
Okay.
should have gone far past this.
Great,
Well,
thank
you know, it raises questions, and I think there's value to our reading it, because are we supposed to understand Lot psychologically and maybe explain what's going on with him? Are we supposed to understand the environment in which he lives and maybe have some mercy for understanding his behavior? That's an issue that we grapple with today. Or should we simply condemn him for what he has done? So I'm not so sure that this story has no relevance for us now. Although I appreciate your point of view about it. It makes sense that you're saying. Another point?
Go ahead, Harriet.
Well, I just want to say that there's some characters in Torah who I think are sort of deliberately ambiguous, that we sort of grapple with what should we think about this or that action that they did. And that's sort of healthy. It's healthy for our discussion. They're not meant as models necessarily for us to follow, but also it reveals, this story reveals that brutality existed, was flourishing back then, and we can't romanticize or turn into some sort of idol, IDYLL, that kind of idol, the life, the harsh life in that society, that people didn't always act well, and people who acted well could have relatives who acted very badly. I think we see that over and over. We see it in Joseph and his brothers. We see it always going back to Cain and Abel, that our stories picture a lot of very unpleasant actions, which we can talk about, but it doesn't really, they're there, and we can't wish them away any more than we can wish away similar conduct in the present. So I think it's just there for us to grapple with. And I personally haven't really grappled it with much myself, but that's how I feel about it. And the Torah frequently inserts short, I won't call them digressions, but in some big, wonderful story, there'll be this little side story where people act very badly. And what are we supposed to make of that? But all those stories are in there. So we have to take the whole thing, just as we take the whole thing in our society today. People weren't any better than they are now, clearly. So I guess that would be my response. So Jim, that was quite an interesting choice. I mean, I find it hard to choose if I'm going to talk about a story like that, because the conduct is so unpleasant, but still it's there. So we can't really turn away from it. So that's what I had to say.
And Jim's choice of reading it as farce or as comedy sort of gives it a slightly different valuation.
Yes.
We're not supposed to take it entirely seriously, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Although that doesn't, that, you know, there are a lot of so-called comedies which leave a rather bitter taste in our mouths. Any other thoughts? Marty, do you want to say something? Your mouth is moving, but you're not making any noise. Is he frozen now? No.
Can you hear me now?
I don't know. Can we hear him?
Yes. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. I mean, as always, Jim's interesting, and one of his many clever suits that he wears is comedic and farcical. Let's just take comedic. But in all faithfulness to the Torah, is there any instance of accepted comedic response? Not response, evocation. There's no comedic aspect to the Torah. There's hardly any ironic. Maybe there's some, or, I mean, I'm not criticizing Jim, I'm just questioning. Rabbi, or
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. There is a, you know, I have generally found that there is a consensus among scholars that the Torah is not ever being funny. My experience of the Torah is slightly different than that. So I think that humor is a very complicated topic, not least of all because things that are funny in one culture are not funny at all in another culture. Things that are funny even in one language are not funny in another language. Jim's joke about Ocean State job lot wouldn't make any sense to anyone who doesn't live where there's an Ocean State job lot. It would be a meaningless thing. So I think we have, I'm not sure that we can make a blanket statement. It's hard for me to see Bilam's donkey as not funny. I have a little bit of trouble seeing Lot as a comedy, but I also do really appreciate the notion that that Lot is kind of a bizarro world version of Avraham. And, you know, as soon as things are in a bizarro world, the line between sort of just bizarre and actually funny can be a little bit indistinct. So I wouldn't want to rule out the possibility of comedy since we're so far from that culture.
It's also possible, as I pointed out, that these angels are just testing to see how much he really will go, how far he will go to try to protect them by saying, well, we'll sleep in the square. In fact, it could simply mean that they're angels and they know that they're going to be safe. But obviously, Lot doesn't know that, and there's something there.
But it could also be both. I mean, it also could very well be both, and especially because we get towards the in chapter 22, right? We see that God is explicitly testing Abraham. I'm not sure that there's an explicit test before that, but it seems like it could be very much an implicit kind of a test. So I do think we have to close because we are running past time. But thank you very much, Jim. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. And we will turn to page. Julia will turn to page. Someone want to say something? Yeah, I think we should move on. Marty, we can talk afterwards. Julie, you want to pick up with the putting the Torah away?
Thank you.
Do we want to skip some?
Sorry?
Do we want to sing all of them before they
No, I think we'll just. just go directly for the folio with you.
I can't read them for some reason.
All right, that's weird.
So we're on page 183.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Rishab. Good Shabbos. Please rise. Hallelujah, Shem Adonai, Yisrael Shemo Levado, Hodo Haaretz V'Shamayim, Vayarem Perem V'Yanos, Tehiva Lechol Chasidav, Yibnei Yisrael Am Kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Page 184. Ki lekachto natati lachem torati al tazovu et chaim Amachadikim ba betoncha meushan derachecha darchenon lechol tzivotcha shalom Hashivenu Adonai Eilecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekeren.
All right, so why don't we just do Sim Shalom?
Great.
And then we will do Aleinu and we will end.
Great. So Sim Shalom is on page?
Page 1, page 2, not 201. Page 201.
Page 201. Great. You may be seated. Sim Shalom. No. Wait. How does it go?
Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Chen v'chesed v'rachamim, Aleinu v'Yakov Yisrael, Yakov Yisrael Ahavecha, Barucheinu Avinu Kulanu ke'echad, Kulanu ke'echad, B'yochanecha, Barucheinu Avinu Kulanu ke'echad, Kulanu ke'echad, B'yochanecha, Kivor panacha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu Torah Hayim, Yahweh Chesed U'Tzedakah U'Bracha V'Rachamim V'Chaim V'Shalom V'Tov V'Kidnecha V'Varech Et Amecha V'Varech Et Amecha Yisrael B'chol עת ובכל שעה בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. יאללה לה 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 יאללה לה 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 לה
Excellent. So please rise for Aleinu on page
205.
205. Aleinu l'shabach l'adon hakol, l'atei kula l'yoseh b'reshit, shelo asanu b'goyei haratzon, v'lo samanu k'mishlachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu b'chol ha'ona, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך
מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויסר הארץ, ומשה נתגלה בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, בגופן מרומי, ולאלוהינו אינו, מלך מלכנו ופסולתו, חטאתו בתורתו, ידעת היום ליישב אותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחתינו.
ונאמר
היה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Mourner's Kaddish is found on page
207.
207.
Does anyone want to share names of people you're saying Kaddish for? Nifkedal v'yitkedash shemei Rabah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach v'yirtei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei zechor beit Yisrael v'agalag v'zman karib v'imur. Amen.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba v'Rav ve'olam v'amei amaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yita'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shemei v'yishad v'yitzuru. La'ela mikol berchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata damiran ve'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlam Rabba min Shemaya v'chaim alini ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom v'imramav huya aseh shalom alini ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so Jim, you can make your announcements, and I'm going to go get the glasses for Kish.
Okay, well, we have a meeting of our book group coming up, and it's actually, if I'm not mistaken, tomorrow evening. Could that be true, Sherry?
Yes, that's right. Tomorrow night.
And you should come, even if you haven't read the book, because the author is actually going to be joining us, and it's an extremely interesting book. So it's about how the author.
Excuse me, can we take away the screen share?
Oh, yes, 1 second. I didn't know it was on.
It's about how the young author went to Poland and looked up, tried to retrieve his family's possessions, and what happened, what he discovered when he went there, and what unexpected things he encountered. A very interesting book and a very thoughtful one, and the author is going to be joining us. That's tomorrow. And also we have coming up a Schmooze and Learn. I'm just overwhelmed by having led that discussion, presented the discussion. The Schmooze and Learn is taking place when, Sherry?
Let me go check the calendar.
It's taking place, I'm sorry, I can't even bring myself to talk right now.
Is he joining us on Zoom, or is he coming to our meeting in a spot?
Everything is on Zoom. It's the Schmooze and Learn is November 21st. John Sears, who wrote a book about Eleanor Roosevelt's efforts to save the Jews during World War II, will be giving the talk. He is the husband of Jane Myers, longtime member and friend of the Minyan.
Great.
Okay.
All right. So if that's all the announcements, we will say Adon Olam, which is found on page 205. No, I'm wrong. 11. Page 211. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, V'yet Nasa, B'chepso Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'yacharei, Yichot HaKol Levado, Yimot Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Hoveh, Behu Yihya, Betifara, Behu Yihya, Betifara, Behu Echad, the Sheni, let's start with two. Behu, Behavira, Believe Sheep, Believe Tachlit, Below Haoz, Behamisra, Below Haoz, Behamisra, Behu, Beli, Bechai Goli, Betzor. Bli the Itzara, the Hunisi, Humanos Li, Menakosi, Beyom Nekra, Menakosi, Beyom Nekra, Biyado, Akidruchi, Beyet, Shan, the Ahira, the Imruchi, Gaviati, Adonai Li, below Ira. Adonai below Ira. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, so we're going to make a little tiny kiddush here, and so give me 1 second. We will. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Hashabbat. Lafsot et ha-Shabbat l'dotam berit olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lafsot et ha-Shabbat l'dotam berit olam B'ni u'ben b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam oti le'olam oti le'olam B'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dotam berit olam B'sheshigim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz B'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat l'dotam berit olam V'yom hashvi'i Shabbat v'yinafash Shabbat v'yinafash Shabbat v'yinafash V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lasot et ha-Shabbat L'dotam berit olam. Al-Ken berach Adonai, et Yom HaShabbat v'yikadshehu sabri. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. So we invite you to come. When you're available, come to 100 Center Street because we can now have food at Kiddush, which is very exciting.
Hallelujah.
I know, it's a big change. All right, Julia, but
Was anyone here when I blessed them?
Wow.
Anyone hear that?
By the way, I wanted to mention that the advertisement for Ocean State job lot also included testimonials from Job and Lot. Job said, finding Ocean State job lot was the best thing that ever happened to me. And Lot said, I found everything I needed after my house was destroyed at Ocean State job lot, except a new wife. So
couldn't find a new wife at Ocean State job lot. All right, well, too bad. All right, go ahead, Ann.
Amen.
Okay. Shabbos,
Rabbi
everybody.
Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah. What's up? What's up,
Rabbi
Marty?
Jim, this is Marty. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can kind of hear you.
There may not be any humor in the Bible, but pardon me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Rabbi
Yeah.
Jim?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, there may not be any humor in the Bible, but there is in Jim Leffert. Besides
Yes.
the wonderful job.
That is for sure.
But it doesn't diminish anything from the Torah to say that it doesn't have these things. We should look at these as moderns, as things that we have fortunately gained. Cervantes brings humor. The Enlightenment brings a notion of progress. In the Torah, there's no notion of progress. Just stick to the law. There's no notion of doing better. The Torah has it all. You don't have to do better. There's the, what's the word for beyond the books of Moses? So in any event, I just think it's amazing that our services remain so rich. So thank you, Jim Leffert. Thank you, Rabbi Jim.
You're welcome. You're welcome. See you soon, Marty.
Okay.
Yes, in
We see
person.
you all soon. Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing everybody in person.
Okay.
Thank you for being here, Francine. Great to see you, Ellen. And nice to have you, John Strecker. It's nice to see you. Even though we don't see you, we just see a black box, but we see your name. That's something.
Yeah, that's great that you're here.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you, Francine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was lovely.
All right. Lovely. Talk to you soon, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great